We're live.
Thank you. Welcome back this afternoon, House Government Operations and Military Affairs. We are here with Sheriff Mark Anderson to discuss S-255. Welcome.
Thank you. So for the record, Mark Anderson, Windham County Sheriff. I don't know how much more the committee needs to hear, and I'm really happy to answer any questions. I feel that we've talked about this quite a bit, and having heard some of the questions from committee members of other witnesses, everyone seems to have a good grasp of what we're doing. I understood Sheriff Marcoux had some questions in his testimony. Happy to respond to those questions if you would like me to.
Yes, please.
My notes are on my phone.
Perfect.
So one of the first questions, I'm going to paraphrase his questions in my words as I understood them. One was if the bill changed the basis for county taxation or special assessment. The short answer is no. It's not really changing anything in statutory law. We look to use existing statutory law for a lot of reasons. It was a way that we could navigate the issues that Sheriff Marcoux was concerned about without upsetting the system, which is what has happened in prior attempts. So we're intentional on avoiding that. The second was, let's see. The impact on the county tax structure. If there was an impact on the county tax structure, no. What this does, you heard reference to the Supreme Court case of Stowe v. Lamoille. The Supreme Court, if I were to summarize it in one sentence, the Supreme Court says the county can raise money for what the legislature says the county can raise money for. So this would be saying the county can do this in this structured system that gives the towns input. So that's the way that we were able to navigate some of the sticking points that that case from 1976, I believe, said this is an issue in a way that comes with the support of the towns. I'll remind you that this comes with the support of 17 towns from Windham County. So we were really intentional in saying, how do we give them a seat at the table in a conversation they've historically felt out of? And in the contract conversation they are part of. So we're trying to mimic these things in a similar way. The other question, there's a limitation in an existing statute of how much money the county can raise. It's 5 cents on the grand list. The current Windham County county tax is about 1 cent. So there's still quite a bit of room if the assistant judges wanted to do something. But again, it would need to be supported. In the structure of this bill, it would be the towns telling the assistant judges how much it's going to raise. And that will be treated more as a special assessment than a tax. So there's a nuance there. But at the end of the day, those are features and factors of that question. There's a question on the grand list being the county taxation method. That is true. That doesn't change for the purposes of the county tax. None of this impacts existing statutory law. What this does impact is the special assessment related to raising fundings for the public safety portions of this bill. So with that, there's a special assessment that would be assessed to towns. The way I would explain it is everyone's used to seeing an invoice. Line item 1 would say this is the county tax. Line item 2 for towns that are participating would then have an additional assessment for the public safety services. So that would be itemized out effectively. Discussion about vehicles, equipment, who takes possession of the property if things go sideways, it ends. We're using existing statutes in Title 24 that already addresses this. So Title 24, Section 290C and Title 24, Section 291A, sub B3. That deals with it, which really we negotiate this out. And so there's still going to be a contract. What we're doing is eliminating what's currently in my county 15 contracts. If all 17 towns were to join, it'd be 17 contracts, or I shouldn't say we're eliminating it. We're reducing that from 15 to 17 contracts down to 1 that's negotiated with this body. So we still maintain and preserve all of the nature of how it works right now, but we allow the county to be the one raising the funding, negotiating on behalf of the representative governance body. There's a question of if it's successful, can other counties do it? As designed, this is only for Windham County. I'm not here to say that it is like I'm trying to keep other people from doing it. I'm saying you need to do the work. And there's a lot of stakeholder work that goes into this. What brought us here to the legislature with this bill was 3 years worth of public meetings, meeting with town administrators, select boards, town clerks, members of the public meetings. Like, we did a lot of work. And I think we have a roadmap that was effective, and that could probably be consolidated into 1 year's worth of work. But we had to make some mistakes along the way to realize we missed some people. So what we did was learned a lot in the last 3 years to come up with how to do this effectively. There was a comment or a question posed, I forget which, basically, why would we want to do this as a pilot project? And the reality is, I don't know that this is going to be right. In fact, we designed this to find flaws, to find errors, things we never expected. And we designed this for when it does break, for it to fall back to what it is today. So the ground floor is what we know and what we're comfortable with. We're not changing anything in statute for that reason. If we did a really good job and we're right, we'll come back to the legislature and say, hey, we think we actually found a way, and can we actually codify this into statute? If we find that we were 80% along the way, and these are the 20% we could not come to resolution, we come back to the legislature and present those items to say, we couldn't come to reconciliation with problem X, whatever that may be that we can't think of today. But really what we're trying to do is empower this group of people to say, let's make decisions, let's make it in the messy democratic way that Vermont is capable of doing. And then let's write it down and report back of this is what we did. And maybe that won't be favored, but that's okay. Because really, as I wrap my head around this, what we're doing is a study, but a study in practice. So that was all intentional to say, let's not put too many guardrails on the group. Let's let them make decisions, but let's make it not Mark making a decision. This is going to be the people who are raising the funds that are making the decisions into our other governance models. I truly believe if this were successful, if like we actually did thread the needle, find all the solutions, and we just don't know it yet, it would probably be about 2 years before we know that and be able to answer it. So at the end of the day, is it a 5-year project? Yes, because that gives us 3 years to show it. But right now, and for the last 30, 40, 50 years, we've been demonstrating the service. We do it through contracts. It's the governing mechanism that I'm trying to change with this bill, which is what we're ultimately building in this. So we are setting up governance in the first year. If this passed tomorrow, we would be pulling together all the towns to see if they're interested. If they are interested, we would start that. All that's before any money's even spent. It's not upsetting any delivery services because towns have existing contracts right now. So with that, we find out who is committed to it under the structure that is codified in the language. And then we're able to really start planning organizational meetings, actually building the organization and seeing where the rubs are and where they're not. So within that first 2 years, I actually think the operational portion of what we need to examine will be done. But part of my belief of why this should be a 5-year project, I want to have a thing that people can look at and say, we want to continue that initiative. And most people don't know or care about the governance portion of it. They care about what they're getting out. They care about the outcomes and the results. So I want to show them the thing that they can embrace and support. And what I'm telling them, the professional eye on this is really, it's the governance. It's not how we do it. Our training's great. Our resources work. Like we have the things as best as anyone in Vermont has the things. So it's, I'm confident the governance is the portion that needs to be addressed. The question of unintended consequences, if we were to do this, does it set precedents? Because this is all session law, I don't see any precedents. I'm troubled to find anything that would demonstrate precedents based on a pilot project that said, well, we did this as a pilot project in Windham County, so now 13 other counties come in tomorrow and say, we want to do it too. I haven't found a pilot project that has demonstrated a precedence that the legislature could not say, no, we're just not doing that. We want to learn from this. But as I've already told you, we're trying to create a roadmap that would learn some lessons along the way, make it a little bit more efficient for everyone's time. If we have a better way, great. If it falls apart, we revert back to what it is today anyways. And so that's all baked into the bill as well. There's a question if other counties did participate, what safeguards would be needed? I'm not recommending other counties participate. I'm not saying because I don't want other counties to participate. This is not my ball. You need to do the work. And so what's good in Chittenden County or Bennington County, Lamoille County, Franklin County, like I know my county. I know it really well. And I know things about your communities, but I don't know them well enough to walk in and have them greet me and say, let's talk about that bill. My community, I run into that problem all the time. So we're having that dialogue, and that's part of what I say you need to do the work. We need to build the stakeholders, the community engagement for it. There's a question of if.
Before you go on,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, Rep. Hooper had a question.
You really think you can fall apart? I mean, I bet you're gonna build a great roadmap. No, I mean, like, is this possibly not gonna work out? It feels like you're lining everything up the way you're supposed to.
I have a high degree of confidence that we know what the problem is, and there's about 50 years worth of studies that talk about the problem in some way, shape, or form. They all come back to governance. There's been several attempts in the last 20 years to do regionalization in a variety of different ways. They usually break down because of governance. The problem that we have always failed at every time we've tried regionalization, we try to deliver the service. So I'm trying to attack the governance portion of it, and nobody wants to talk about it. And a bunch of government operations policy wonks, well, you've seen this. So at the end of the day, do I think it's going to work? Yes. I have a high degree of confidence, but it's been 50 years. There's been many attempts. And so I don't want to come into this arrogant, cocky, or as a know-it-all.
I see now.
And so I want to make sure that if I'm wrong, that I can stand before you in 5 years and say, we were wrong. And this is what we learned, and use our mistakes, failures, and errors to learn and grow.
Cool, I can appreciate your candor on that, because I was like, wow, you keep mentioning how it's very possible that you don't succeed. I don't believe that. I bet you will, but.
I think this is, as far as I can tell, this is the first attempt that's attempted to solve the governance side of it.
Sweet.
I shouldn't say the first, but I mean, the existing statute has been identified as problematic, which is why we're approaching it this way.
You want to continue on with the rest of the points that you had?
Yes, I think I only have 2 or 3, and they're the easy ones. So why would we terminate it in 5 years if it didn't work well? Because it's a pilot project and I'm not trying to forecast that I actually know the answers. If it's working well, I think I'm going to have enough people showing up to say, we need to continue this, and it will require future active legislation. If it fails, then there's no need to come back and ask for it to end. And actually, I've already addressed all the other ones. So I think that solves all of the questions Sheriff Marcoux asked. I did have a conversation with him last week as well as this morning. And I think that we are in a good spot as best as I can tell. I'm happy to respond to any questions if there are any.
Great, thank you. It is Windham County's project that's being asked for in this bill. So ultimately, your confidence and your explanations are good for this committee. It's what we need to hear, and it's really helpful to hear what other people across the state have to say about it. And hopefully they can build on that if they want to have something similar to this in the future in their own region. Like you said, I think every region has to do their own work. I have one question, and then we've got Rep. Coffin. Was that a hand?
Yes.
Rep. Pincinel?
Yes.
Coffin, Pincinel, Boyden, and no. Okay. My question is really simple. Do I understand that the Sheriff's Advisory Committee met this past week and had a vote of some kind? Could you tell us about that? A brief explanation of the Sheriff's Advisory Committee. The sheriff is a constitutional officer elected by the people every 4 years. And so I don't answer to boards or groups of people, except as we would conduct business. So I took office. I said, this is kind of a lonely place to be the sole person trying to come up with the policy for Windham County. How about I find some people from my community who can at least advise me? So we built a group of people that does that. We created
the county officials as ex officio officers. So the assistant judges, the high bailiff, have a seat on it if they want to, which they do. And then a number of members of the public from various communities. They're all volunteers. It's advisory only, but it's a tremendous group of people who come together and hit me with questions and thought processes I just never would have thought of. So we did meet on Monday. We meet once a month each year. You're all welcome to come. And well, not technically an open meeting. We treat it like it's an open meeting because there's not really any capacity. Like it's a group of people getting together. So we did meet. We talked about this bill. We've talked about this bill many times. The group is supportive of it because it's not a formal organization. It's not like there's a formal vote. There's not like formed meetings or anything like that, except that we meet the first Monday of each month. So, and we take the summer off.
Great, thank you. Rep. Coffin.
I just comment and observation because of some of the concerns that were raised in our last. I do like because of the reporting and evaluation and what's listed in there as far as financial statements, service delivery, the challenges encountered, but also the recommendations for improvement. All of that after that first report, if other counties were looking to say, hey, maybe this is something we need or we would like to look into, they could actually learn from this report because it's public knowledge being given to the our House committee here and the Senate government ops. I think that would actually give them a leg up and say, this is what's working, this isn't what's working. But coming back to us every year with that, I think gives you a better chance of success too.
I think I was accused by former Senator White of talking to everyone who was willing to listen to me, and in some cases, some who were not. I have no issue sharing this. We thought it was appropriate to say who we're going to formally report this to, but I truly do believe, and I'm confident we found the way to do this. The problem will always be a human problem. So we will never know how to deal with human problems until we're presented them. But with that, my intent is to talk to the other sheriffs and say, this is what we learned or didn't learn. If we make errors, let's learn from them. I'm a strong believer in continuous improvement. So my plan is to follow that as long as the voters will have me.
Rep. Pincinel.
So you may have answered this in some of your other testimony. I didn't look back at my notes, but there's 17 towns within Windham.
We have 23 towns in Windham County. 3 towns have a police department.
Oh, right.
One town has a police department. I'm sorry. One town does not have a police department for the town, but it has a village that has the police department, and it gets a little harder to explain from there. But at the end of the day, it exists. We have 15 towns that I currently contract with, 17 towns interested in this project, 2 towns that were so small, they said, we probably won't participate. So thanks for letting us know, but we're good. So we do see this as pretty much everyone.
And do each of those towns have representatives on your advisory committee?
We've offered them. No, they do not. It's a volunteer group, so some people come, some people go, but we're certainly open to public input. Yeah, I woo them with food.
Rep. Boyden.
Thank you. You mentioned that likely within 2 years of this, there'll be, excuse me, you'll have a lot of information and knowledge about how it's going. And right now in the bill, Representative Coppin kind of already touched on this. There's a standard annual report, then also that is issued annually, and then also a more comprehensive evaluation that is issued at the very end of the pilot. So I'm wondering if you would have the capacity to issue a preliminary comprehensive evaluation kind of in the middle of the pilot period. Like maybe right now the final report is in 2033, so maybe like 2030 or so. Like that's a date, but
I do not see any issue in bringing forward a report, the preliminary report before 2033. Do we have the capacity? I mean, we'll find it. I don't have the capacity to do anything right now when we're here doing this. So yes, we'll figure it out if that's needed. But again, I think the real work is going to actually be mostly finalized. And I mean, let's be real, if I can give a report 2-3 years in to say, we think that the governance is the real solution to this whole problem. Here is a roadmap. And you say, let's terminate the pilot and let's make this permanent. Okay. So that might actually be a nice milestone in the middle that we say this was a success as opposed to wait 5 years for success. So I have no issue with that.
Any additional questions at the table? Okay, thank you very much for coming all the way back in to answer those concerns or respond to those concerns.
Thank you, committee. I really appreciate your time and thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome. So we will definitely talk about this some more. I don't know if you all want to have a discussion now while we're waiting for our chair to return.
Why not?
Why not? We have one new suggestion on the table, and that's an interim report. Did you have a date in mind for that?
I wrote down 2030. Open to suggestions. Yeah.
So that's,
Does he like that?
what do you think? Are you sooner or later? If we did that.
I think a midpoint makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't have a calendar in front of me and I'm kind of a visual person, so I'm just trusting that.
Cause it's a,
Because
it 5 or 4?
the committee will, or the pilot will take shape in, I think it was July 1st of 2026, say that it passes this session. And then you have to do all the work to set it all up. So we really won't have a lot of information until say 2027. So then the final report is in 2033. So you would be 3 years in at 2030 or so. And then the final report would then be 3 years later at 2033.
That makes a lot of sense to me, so yes.
Did you have a time of
Everybody
year?
following?
Yeah, I was just looking at calendars, so yeah.
First time of year that you thought it would be more appropriate to have a report delivered to us based on whether some additional legislation might need to be.
Thank
Or
you.
budget.
Yeah, I did really think about that because the annual report is due in January 31st annually. And then this more comprehensive evaluation currently says December 31st. Maybe it would be helpful to kind of space that out and say that it's due in November. That way you're not at 1 year or 2 years, you don't have 2 large reports due kind of a month away from each other. Give you another month, 2 months away from each other. And then it's also before the legislative session, so legislators can read the report before the session starts. And then be ready with bills with any legislative recommendations.
Right, because we have to take into account drafting deadlines, which are often December 1st,
Mhm.
depending on which year of the biennium that is. So
It's maybe like November 15th.
I was even thinking maybe November 1st. Just to get a drafting request in or
Yeah.
to flesh it out if you need to meet with, if anybody needs to meet with anybody else to develop any legislation, if there's something necessary.
How about October 31st?
You're one, Brett Pincinel.
I'm just looking at this, so my suggestion, I don't know if this would be appropriate or not, but make that be on or before whatever date the council shall submit a preliminary comprehensive evaluation or a midterm, mid-year,
The one in November?
the one in November.
Yeah. well,
And then take this B and make that C.
Yeah.
So C's the final one.
What happens here is we give the idea to Ledge Council and they write the new section of
Right,
that,
because it would become
Right.
before the,
right?
yeah.
And they would put it wherever it needs to go
Yeah.
and renumber everything for us. So that's something we can flag for Tim
Yeah.
and he can get it back to us the next time we talk about the bill. Rep Hooper, Rep Morgan, sorry,
So,
Sheriff Anderson.
if I might suggest, maybe even the end of September. The reason I say that is because this is gonna be a board made up by town members
Mhm.
who are going into budget season,
yeah.
September to October, November, December, so.
Yeah.
We could have their work be on a deadline. I would try to encourage it anyways, but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
I think that is September would probably give
Okay.
everyone time to get back from summer breaks and engaged again.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. So we can ask our
79:33.
attorney that. Who was, Mike Morgan, you had your hand
That's
up.
fine. No, just a general comment. I think it's a bold, decisive move by Sheriff Anderson to jump out, put himself out there and do this. I personally see only good coming out of it. There'll be some bumps in the road. But then I think it could be a good template for others to follow suit. And it would give, people like Sheriff Barkley a chance to sit back and look at it. Pull good from it. And I think I always see upside to it. I mean, it's not gonna be flawless. There's nothing in this world that is, but I think there's good opportunity there.
You're pretty flawless.
Rep Cooper, did you have something
No, I got-
earlier?
That's it, actually.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, so will we ask Ledge Council to draft something up first that we can look at next week?
If you all agree to.
Yeah, I think we
that.
should.
Just a simple amendment.
Yeah.
What about any other changes? Is there anything else people want to change about the bill?
Well, now that he mentioned that, do we, if we decided we're not gonna end it at the 2030, and we want to continue to December 33rd, 2033, do we want to change that date so that, like you said, that people will be budgeting we want to change that date too?
I think it's an end of the year date, yes. So we probably want to keep it at the end of a
Okay.
calendar year.
Okay,
Rep
Okay.
Boyden?
Yeah, either way, the pilot ceases to exist June 30th, 2034. So
Oh,
after that
yeah.
report is issued, there's still about
Gotcha.
6 months.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. That's
For-
farther
track.
I
down.
didn't catch that part.
Yep. Good catch. Any other comments, questions? Concerns? Okay, so,
One other,
oh, yes.
so if we send this to council and they bring it back to us, and then we hear it, would we also warn it for a vote?
Yes, we will, but not before next week.
Okay, so we wouldn't
So
have to delay.
likelihood of voting on it Tuesday of next week. And it gives Tim time to do whatever else he's doing in this and bring it back to us for one last discussion. And then it would be, if we approve it, it would be with amendment. So it would have to go back to the Senate after this.
Okay.
Great. Any further questions? Okay, well, great.
I'll do, not try me to do it.
Thank you. Yes, I did hear that if we pass it, you will be the bill reporter. So, very good. I guess that's it. So Nick, you can take us off live, please, and we will be back